Alright guys, so this is a continuation of yesterday's lesson. So we're doing midpoint and slope. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into it. So this time they're giving us if the midpoint of a line is 2, 1 and 4, 3 is one of the endpoints, what is the other endpoint of the line segment? So I'm going to draw a picture. And I'm going to call this A. I'm going to call the middle the midpoint for M. And I'm going to call this B. So I'm going to put what they gave us. They gave us the middle or the midpoint is 2, 1. And one of the endpoints is 4 and 3. And it doesn't matter if you put 4, 3 at A or B. That doesn't matter. And then here I'm trying to figure out the X1 and the Y1. So they gave me the midpoint and the endpoint, so I'm going to use the midpoint formula. So it means M equals X1 plus X2 divided by 2, comma, Y1 plus Y2 divided by 2, comma. So this is the X coordinate and this is the Y coordinate. So if you look here, we're just going to substitute in what they gave us. Let's do X first. This is X endpoint, midpoint, Y midpoint, and I'm going to call this X2, Y2. So the midpoint for X is 2. So I'm going to say 2 equals the X1 I don't know, so I'm going to just call it X, plus the X2 I do know is 4 over 2. And I'm going to go ahead, well, I'll solve this and then we'll go back. So I don't like the fractions in the problem, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of this fraction on the right side. So I get 4 equals X plus 4. And then we're going to solve this equation like we know to solve it. We put the variables on the left and the constants on the right. So I'm going to minus 4, minus 4. So 0 equals, and we're drawing our line, X plus 0. So X is on the wrong side. So we're going to minus X from both sides. So we get negative X equals 0. Minus 1. I mean, not minus 1, divide by negative 1. If this confuses you, put the 1 there. And X equals 0. So we know the X coordinate of our endpoint here is going to be 0. And now we need to go find the Y coordinate of this endpoint. So we know the middle point is 1. 1 equals the Y1 we don't know, so you can just call it Y, plus the Y2, which is 3 over 2. So we don't like this fraction situation. Multiply both sides by 2. Multiply this side by 2, so we get 2 equals Y plus 3. And so we're going to go through and get the variables on the left, constants on the right. So I'm going to minus 2. And remember, you cross over the line, you change the sign. Plus 1 minus Y minus Y. So we get negative Y equals 1. Divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1, Y equals negative 1. Okay, hold on, I'm just trying to make this separation line a little neater. Let me go down the middle with that. Okay, there we go, to separate the two sides. So we know the Y up here is negative 1. So we found the order pairs. The other endpoint is 0 and negative 1. Okay, so let's talk about this second question. It says, given the points 10, 15, 40, 30, and 0, 0, 15, 7.5, determine if the two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay, so if I'm going to answer this question, I need to find the slope, which is symbolized by M. On your formula sheet, they tell you that slope equals Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. Alright, so we are going to find the slope of each pair of ordered pairs, and then we're going to compare those slopes at the end. So here I want to do this first one. So I want to say 10, 15, and 40, and 30. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So we're going to say Y2, and remember when you substitute into this formula, make sure you put your numbers that you're substituting in parentheses, minus 15 over 40 minus 10. So you get M equals 15 over 30, which reduces to the M equals divide both by 15, or you can use your fraction key, which is going to be 1 over 2. You can use your fraction key, put this fraction in, and it'll simplify it for you. Or you can divide both the top and the bottom by 15. That's the greatest common factor that they have. Okay, let's do the second part. 0, 0, and then 15, 7.5. Okay, I'm going to call this X1, Y1, X2, Y2. You get M equals 7.5 minus 0 over 15 minus 0. Okay, so here I do M equals 7.5 minus 0 is just 7.5, and 15 minus 0 is just 15. So I'm going to use my calculator to help me to reduce this, make sure I don't make any mistakes on it. I don't see that there's a greatest common factor. So I'm going to go alpha Y equals, and then put 7.5 over 15, which equals 1/2. So M equals 1 over 2. That was 0.5. And now we know the two slopes, so now let's compare. These slopes are identical. So since these slopes are identical, we're going to say the two lines are parallel. When the slopes are the same, that means the two lines are parallel. And you can write your reasoning why, because slopes equal. Okay, and then you've answered that question. They would have been perpendicular if this was a minus sign, because the signs have to be opposite, and the 1 over 2 would have been flipped to 2 over 1. That's how you know that if the lines were perpendicular. And if it doesn't fit that, then you say that they're neither. All right, please complete the rest of these problems, and when you come to class tomorrow, we'll talk about them, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.